This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. And now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne. And good morning. Welcome to KRAE Reports, a week in review. And we're going to go right to our first guest who joins us. He's Tim Bradshaw, the Director of Aviation at the Cheyenne Regional Airport. And Tim, matter of fact, I know I got in touch with you here a couple weeks back. We were running, or even a month ago, we're running ads, you know, fly Cheyenne. Then all of a sudden, kind of like we're not flying Cheyenne anymore. I guess as the director over at the Cheyenne Regional Airport, a little frustrating right now that, hey, we need it done, and we'll talk about the runway project, but a little bit frustrated because we had momentum, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's zapped away from us.
That's exactly right, and thank you for having me here this morning. Appreciate that. It's just that with the air service, this community has had a long history of air service issues, going back to Great Lakes Airlines. I know a lot of people were frustrated back when they were canceling a lot of flights. Then we had American service for a while, Dallas. Very, very successful. Everybody loved that flight. It was a full airplane. And then, of course, the pandemic. And then we have the runway project on top of it. It just seems like it's just a never-ending battle against us. We make some headway, and we take two steps back every time. We were really trying to avoid shutting down the runway this year. We looked at possible other carriers like Southern Air, which you might not be familiar with, or Denver Air Connection. Couldn't get them to come in here. Tried to get the FAA to let us use our secondary runway, but again, because of the growth around the airport and the displaced thresholds, we couldn't use that runway. So we were trying to do everything we can because it does hurt to stop and start service. It's just not good.
All right. Secondary runway, what is that basically used for? Again, I would think military?
That's correct. You know, the C-130s, they don't need a lot of runway. They use it quite often, our general aviation, our corporate aviation. But SkyWest, who provides the service with United Airlines, flies the CRJ-200s. Not a really great performing aircraft. It needs a lot of runway, especially in this high altitude. So that other runway is, you know, almost 6,000 feet long. You think that would be long enough, but it's not for that airplane to be able to safely operate in here.
Well, Tim, let's get into the runway project right now. We're caught us off guard, and I think it was our conversation with the city councilman, Dr. Mark Rennie, who said, hey, runway at the Cheyenne Regional Airport might be still a little bit under construction, or at least that phase might continue into a little bit longer project, which kind of caught us surprised, where we thought, hey, it's something that's been going on for a while now, should be done with that construction. But let's go into, again, what the project is at Cheyenne Regional Airport, and also, too, let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty of why we're entering kind of phase 3 and why it's a project taking about a couple of years now.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be going on year 4 and possibly year 5. You know, it's unfortunate a project like this. It's a multi-year project, over $60 million. A lot of people in this community, including our elected officials, went to the FAA and secured the funding. You know, a project like this has to be done every 50 years. It's a concrete runway. It needs to be replaced. Those C-130s, they do a lot of beating on that runway as well, too. And, you know, not only the FAA funding went into it, but the National Guard, too. The National Guard put money into this project as well, too. So they started the project, had everything designed, and then just had problems after problems the first part of the project. It was a 4-month project that took 2 years to complete. And then this last year, when we thought we were done with that phase of the project, the contractor had a lot of problems. The concrete they poured doesn't meet the strength test, the tensile test. So they may have to come back and replace some of that concrete in 2025. That's the kind of problems that we're running into with this. The pour that they did last year was the intersection of the 2 runways. We can't close that down. It just shuts us down completely. So we may have to come back and do that. We've got one phase that we're doing this year on the main runway that will require us to shut the main runway down. And because of that, we can't use a secondary runway. So I know it's a complicated issue. There's so many different factors that went into this, but it's just been one thing after another that's really hurt us on this project.
I guess my question for you, Tim, then, regarding at least kind of the maintenance crew or the construction crew that's working on this and kind of had those issues as you outlined there, you know, again, as we talk costly renovation of this airport runway that did this construction crew, did we have to ask more money? Did the cost get incorporated on them to at least now restructure this runway? I mean, how much did the city or at least the Cheyenne Regional Airport have to foot a bill for a mistake that wasn't really on you, it was on kind of this construction company that was out there trying to rebuild this runway?
Well, we're very fortunate that the majority of our capital projects are funded by the FAA. The city and the county do not have to put money in for these projects. Now, the airport itself, we have to pay 2.5% as part of our project, and so does YDOT. So the three players are the FAA, YDOT, and the local airport. So it did cost us money. But right now, we're sitting on funds that we haven't paid the contractor, that we've held in escrow or liquidated damages because they went way over contract. They're already $300,000 into us for liquidated damages. They're fined every day that they go over the project. So we're still sitting on that money. So it's not been an increase in the budget, but it has been a cost to the airport and to the community as well. Again, a lot of intangible costs. You know, I mentioned earlier that, for example, the Thunderbirds. We haven't had Thunderbirds here for Frontier Days in a couple of years, and that's very frustrating. We don't know how many people have missed flights or cancellations of flights due to the fact that we don't have our runway project complete yet.
Larry Proetti along with Nick Proetti and Tim Bradshaw, who is the Director of Aviation at Cheyenne Regional Airport. Tim, let's talk about, again, as we hear your frustrations, and deservedly so, what is going to be the long-term ramifications of not being able to fly out of Cheyenne? Because, again, people are going to say, well, first it's here, it's gone, it's delayed, and again, we know all the problems that are going on with airports or with airlines these days, but is this going to come back and bite us in the long run? How do we, again, I know, marketing is going to be one of the key tools, but how are we going to enhance or entice those folks to come back and say, we're even better?
Well, it's exactly it. We started this conversation on that. It's very hard for this community to stop and start service, and I worry about the long term. I mean, we all look at what's going on with the news and what's going on with the airlines. The airlines are getting out of small communities and not serving them anymore, so we're very fortunate to have it. I always say that if we lost commercial air service, we'd set this community back 20 years. When site selectors are looking for new locations for their businesses, one of the top factors is whether you have air service or not. So it's critically important for us. I always say someone in Sri Lanka with the click of their mouse can book a ticket to Frontier Days. That's how important air service is to it. But we're going to have to continue to ask for community support to let us get through these next couple of years. We're still trying to get other service providers in here. I've had really good conversations with a low-cost carrier possibly coming in here and doing some less-than-daily service, maybe to Vegas or Phoenix. But it's hard for me to sell that when we've got this project going on. And the same thing here this last year. We've seen our boardings just skyrocket in the last year. And we did that with an airplane that we could only sell about 40 of the 50 seats because we had to take a seat penalty this past summer. So the support is there. The community's there. I think the 6-penny ballot was a perfect example of how this community supports air service. So I'm just praying and hoping that people will have some patience and understanding, and we're going to come back strong as ever, come back into the summer, and we're going to continue to push.
Let's talk about the concrete that's going to be laid. And again, and I know I'm going to go a little off track here, I think of football stadiums where underneath, it's got special warming sensors underneath to keep the fields in good shape under heavy blizzards or extreme cold. In concrete, is there some 21st century type of concrete that we are laying? Because again, we get really hit with devastating weather up here too. So just wondering, is this going to be state of the art type of runway?
Absolutely. The last time this was done was the 60s or the 70s, and they've come a long way with this. When you look at the base of the concrete, there's probably 18 inches of sub-base underneath of it, and then the concrete on top of that. This concrete is going to last for very, very many years. I just wish it could have happened at a different time. But you're right. It will be state-of-the-art. They've come a long way with technology with concrete, and so we're very excited about what this runway is going to be like when it's done.
Looks like, again, as according to your press release that was at least released a couple days ago, commencement of this runway project, again, tentative for April 5th here of 2023. Let's go into time estimate of if we say everything goes well, we get the resources, we have the funding, and everything goes smoothly. When can we expect at least that SkyWest service to operate back again here in Cheyenne?
Well, SkyWest has assured me that they are planning on coming back. And remember, we do provide a minimum revenue guarantee, so there is the incentive for them to come back. We chose April 4th because we wanted to avoid people disrupting people's spring break plans. So we purposely looked at the calendar. Let's do April 4th. Everybody's back from spring break. We anticipate that this contract in the runway project will be done by September 10th. Unfortunately, not before Frontier Days. But I have really high confidence in this contractor. They've done a lot of work at Denver. They know how to do runway projects. So September 10th is the date that we will be back in session.
Let's take a look at inside the terminal. And again, you have occupants inside the terminal. Obviously, they're not exceptionally thrilled about this because they're hoping for that passenger, those that are traveling to stop on in wherever they need to go. How much are they going to be affected? Because I would venture to say, I'm sure you've heard their cries thus far.
Absolutely. I think of Billy Jack's Restaurant, our new pizza pub that opened. Great food. Invite you all to come out there anytime you want to. They realize, though, that just the 2 flights a day is not enough to support a restaurant. So they're hoping that people will come out there, just kind of like the old Cloud 9, where people used to go out and watch airplanes and have an adult beverage and have something to eat. So they're relying more on their reputation in the restaurant, their food, the quality, and the flights does upset them. They're not happy about it, but they knew about it coming in here a couple of years ago before they even opened that this was going to be an issue for them. And one of the ideas we've actually talked about recently is kind of opening up the terminal for more during this downtime to maybe let some of the general aviation airplanes taxi in over there or fly in to have something to eat, or open it up for some type of venues out there. So we're going to do everything we can to support them in this term, but they're not happy about it.
Tim, I want to get into, again, an article that you sent me a couple days from Time Magazine that kind of spotlighted Cheyenne and just what's happening with the airline industry right now, where, again, reading through that article, for me, kind of felt like Cheyenne's kind of getting strong-armed by, whether it's United or we saw years in the past, again, American come in and say, hey, we need you to do this X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to go and basically say we're stopping service altogether in Cheyenne after we complied with American Airlines. But, again, we talk about Kraft, which is the Cheyenne Regional Air Focus team that brokered that deal with SkyWest, 2.5 at least for this year for them to kind of stay in town. I guess, Tim, on an opinionated side, again, as you are the director of aviation there for the Cheyenne Regional Airport, does it kind of feel like these airlines kind of strong-arm small cities like Cheyenne or other kind of mid-major metropolitan areas of saying, hey, if you want us, you got to kind of foot up a bill for us in order to entice us to stay? Does it kind of feel like we're getting strong-armed a bit?
Absolutely. I mean, you've seen the news lately with Southwest and some of the major airlines. Sometimes people think of airline service as public transportation, but it's not. It's private transportation. And they don't want the hassle and the cost of operating in small markets. They figure you get in your car and you drive anyway. And you remember now, there's only 4 airlines that control 80% of the traffic in this country: American, United, Delta, and Southwest. So when the airlines were deregulated back in the 70s, this was the fear that everybody had. And you may remember years ago, there was so many flights out here. You had Frontier, you had all these airlines operating out of Cheyenne. But as this industry has evolved into an oligopoly where you've got 3 or 4 major partners, they're just really interested in the high metro markets. They're not interested in the small markets because the profit margin is not there as much. And right now they're facing a lot of issues with, during the pandemic, a lot of people took early retirement. They parked a lot of airplanes, and then, boy, as soon as the pandemic was lifted, the demand just went through the roof, and they're trying to catch up now. And so now they could care less about smaller communities. They're focusing all their energies on the major metro markets.
How does Cheyenne make sure, and again, I mentioned with Kraft, where, again, a couple of years ago, they were footing up 2.1, at least towards the SkyWest, now, again, upping to 2.5, so, again, a $400,000 kind of increase in that cost, or at least bill towards SkyWest. How do we make sure for Cheyenne Regional Airport, for, again, folks here in town that, again, SkyWest doesn't, or at least I should say United doesn't come and say, hey, Cheyenne Regional Airport, if you want more flights, now the bill's going to be $5 million or $10 million or something like that. How do we make sure that they don't kind of completely control us and again, kind of gouge us for even more millions of dollars here in town?
I wish I had an answer for that, but it's up to them. When they entered into this minimum revenue guarantee, we had a goal of, you fill the airplane up 70 to 80% of the time. that subsidy goes down, because our goal was to really wean ourselves off the subsidy to where the market supports itself. But now fuel prices have kicked us in the rear. I mean, that's been the biggest portion of the cost. We have to fund those airplanes coming in and out of here. If fuel costs weren't right now, I'd feel much better about the minimum revenue guarantee. But as the costs go up, to answer your question, I don't see that they would come back and not ask for additional money on that.
You know, as you look at these entities that come into our community, and you know, most recently SkyWest, is it similar to a sports contract? You know, do you get a 1-year commitment? Do you get a 2-year commitment? How are these airlines working with you? Do they say, hey, we'll give it a year, and if it doesn't work, let us out?
It's a 1-year deal. Every year they're going to come back and try to renegotiate the deal. And you got to remember too, we're also part of a group of airports in the state, with the exception of Jackson and I think Casper. All the other airports are under this minimum revenue guarantee program as well. Theirs is called something a little bit different, and they didn't use the 6-penny ballot money for that. But absolutely, it's something that's going to come back every year, and they're going to have to renegotiate the contract every time.
You know, talking about you coming in as the new airport regional manager, let's talk about your frustrations, because again, you know, we talk about a community, we talk about airlines, but again, you're sitting down here and you're applying for this position. You got your background and you're all ready to go, your resume, and these little wiffle balls that get thrown at you. I mean, it's got to be very frustrating at the top.
Absolutely, it's very frustrating because, you know, I'm here to serve. That's what we are. I serve the people in this community at that airport, and it's very frustrating because I know that there's so much potential here. I'll give you an example. Right after we spoke the last time, we did a passenger demand analysis. There are so many tickets that are purchased in this region. 97% of our traffic drive to Denver. I get it. You've got a lot more choices. You've got Frontier, Southwest, all those choices down. You can go international out of Denver. If we could potentially lock down some of that traffic, I'll give you an example of that data that we put together. On average, every day in our region right here, 174 people go to Phoenix. That's back and forth to Phoenix. That's enough to fill a couple of airplanes every day. And that's why we're focusing our efforts. We want a commercial carrier like United where you can connect with the hub and go anywhere in the world, or the world can come here. But we're also focusing our efforts on markets that we know that we can support. Dallas is one of our top markets. We mentioned that before with American, but American's trying to catch up right now. They're not in expansion mode right now. But I do think that there's a potential for us for less than daily service on a low-cost carrier from here to Vegas and here to Phoenix. If you look at those markets, we can definitely support those markets. If you look at communities like Cheyenne across the country, that's the type of service that they have. We're very fortunate to have a hub and spoke carrier like United, but I think more our potential lies in laser focus on markets that we can support and have less than daily service to those markets.
You know, I'm fearful, and again, you know, both of us being at the top of our professions, and when you lose a customer, it's like, boy, it's hard to get them back. Down the road, we don't even have to talk Denver. Let's just go Fort Collins, Loveland. They have really concerted their efforts to make that a good regional airport. And again, where you had back in the day, and you know, I'm not going to throw all that out, but you had those nickel and dime flights that took you to Las Vegas or Elko, Nevada, and you know, they're in the game now. They're fighting hard for that dollar as well too. Being at the top, are you fearful that we might not be able to attract our customers back again? That, hey, you know, we've been down for 6 months. I'm going to go 30 miles down the road. It's not that bad.
You're right, because it all comes down to the person, the customer. The customer determines the air service. And, you know, you get into these travel patterns. You're so used to it. You drive to Denver, you park, you fly, you come back, and you've got frequent flyer miles, or you're part of that. You know, you may have hundreds of thousands of miles with United or somebody like that. To change people's travel patterns and to disrupt it like that, I mean, people, I said earlier, people are willing to support this airport, but they can only do so much. If we're not there, you know, to have the service with them, they're going to change their travel patterns, and it'll take a long time for us to win that loyalty back.
And you have the bookings, you know, over there at the regional airport. You also have TSA. How does that affect these folks?
Well, that's a good question, because they have to stay certified. and they can't be idle for 3 or 4 months. So I reached out to TSA early on when we started having our discussion about this runway project to make sure that they come back, because we have to have them here to do that. It affects the rental car business, the TSA, affects our tower, affects all of our funding, everything. This is something that has a huge impact on the airport. But we're working with TSA to keep those folks recertified. They're going to put them in different airports to keep their certifications up and bring them back in September.
Tim, I guess this is your opportunity right now, again, as we're talking to entice those customers back here to fly out of Cheyenne Regional Airport. What are the benefits then of flying out when we are in operating service through SkyWest? I looked earlier today. I do believe flight costs, again, around $111. So, again, at least pretty cheap for that flight on down to Denver, at least that convenience. But talk about the benefits of flying out of this airport when, again, it is in operation.
Thanks. That's a great question. You know, the biggest benefit I always talk about is, you know, when you travel, you're packed and you're excited, you're going to the destination, doing all that. But the last thing you want to do when you get home is get in the car and drive for 2 or 3 hours, come home. And especially I-25, I've made that trip a couple of times. It's not fun at all. It's the convenience. It's what we offer here. Free parking, free Wi-Fi, friendly staff. I mean, we go out of our way. We answer the phone. Not many airports answer the phone. That's what we offer because we're a small town. We offer that personal experience for everyone, but really it's the convenience. It's the easiness of flying out of here. When people do fly out of here, I've had people come up to me and say, God, I love flying out of Cheyenne. It's so easy, so convenient to come back and forth like that. That's the selling point for us, is that when you get home, you're 10 minutes from your dogs and sleeping in your own bed. There's a value to that.
And you avoid all the construction, I-25, all that
I
good
would
stuff.
also think, too, another great advantage, and I think back to the old Great Lakes days, basically fly and forget it. Basically, you go through, put your bags through in Cheyenne, catch your flight, and then, get your hookup down in Denver, and everything is out of your hands. All you do is put on the next flight whatever you're bringing with you.
Right. I've been to the Great Hall. That's what they call the security. I remember one time I flew out of there. I didn't want to, but I have TSA pre-check, and I was number 100 in line for TSA pre-check. That's how busy that. Denver is the 5th largest hub airport in the United States, and it's a hassle. Like you said, you get on the plane here, you're done. You fly to Denver, make your connection, and you're on your way in the same way coming back. There's a lot of value to that.
Well worth the money, too.
Yeah, without a doubt. For also, too, I want to at least kind of express this, Tim, to you, or again, you kind of talked with us earlier off air about a customer reaching out to you about the at least pending, at least plan upcoming to that scheduled construction, again, starting in the month of April. For those that have booked a flight in between that estimated time, April to September, as you alluded to, I mean, do they go to the Cheyenne Regional Airport and talk to you guys to rebook, or again, do you express, hey, go to United, and then they will take care of you? I mean, for those that booked a ticket, do they hang on to it? Do they call customer service? I guess, plain and simple, what do those folks do, Tim?
Well, I have to give credit to the airlines for once. The airlines have gotten really good, especially now with technology, and I'm kind of worried about AI a little bit, but they will reach out to you because as soon as we made the announcement, people were getting notifications either through their app on their phone or text or email. So I think the airlines have gotten very good about that. Even with storms nowadays too, like they don't have capacity to move flights around and change people. So nowadays they'll just cancel flight when there's a big storm coming. So I have to give credit to the airline that they do have the technology. They will reach out to you, but we're always there. If somebody wants to call us and ask us about that, one of the things I got really disappointed to hear was that Visit Cheyenne booked a big conference here. I can't remember what group it was, and there was a couple hundred people. That's hotels, and that's a big impact for Cheyenne. And they got notifications right away that they were, and now Visit Cheyenne was scrambling, trying to make arrangements for these people still to come to Cheyenne. Air service just affects so many facets of our community.
And final question for me, for you, Tim, and again, I appreciate you coming in and again talking, giving us updates on what's happening at the regional airport. We talked earlier about, again, courting some of these airlines into, again, adding more destinations coming out of Cheyenne when, again, we have that fully operating runway later on this year. But, again, Frontier, Denver Air Connection, just to think of what's in our hub that, again, offers a lot of opportunity, especially with Frontier being a hub down there in Denver. I guess walk us through the process of how do we court some of these companies that come into Cheyenne and operate or at least establish a destination. Is that something that takes years? Does it take financial kind of boosting? I mean, let's go into the process. How do we get these companies here?
I like the word court because that's exactly what it feels like sometimes because, we're competing against Green Bay, Wisconsin, Evansville, Indiana. We're not competing against Laramie and other airports around here. So we have to get the airlines' attention, and it does take years. I remember Asheville, North Carolina, one of the fastest-growing airports in the country, took 8 years to get DC service. So it's a marathon. It's not a 40-yard dash. The best way we can do is we prove to them that the business case is there. That's why we did the leakage study or the passenger demand analysis. Hey, airlines, this is the true potential market that we have. If you bring your airplanes here, that's what they want to know. We love Cheyenne. They think it's a great community as well too, but they have to make sure that it's profitable for them. So that's what we do. And I share information with them. When Leeds has a new announcement or like Eagle Claw coming in, I share that information with them and try to get us to rise above the other communities out there that are competing for the same service. So that's how we do it. And finally, when they have the airplanes, they have the crew, and the numbers make sense, then they'll make a commitment to the market.
We've got a couple more here before we let you go. For me, diversions, and usually weather June, July. And it's a marvelous sight to see at the Cheyenne Airport. You see a lot of carriers that are diverted out of Denver that come up to Cheyenne. What happens now? Again, we won't be able to satisfy that need. Who's next in line?
Yeah, that's another one. It's been really tough there. We are the number one airport for diversions for Denver. And that's a lot of fuel sales for us. That's a lot of money that we recognize, and we have taken a huge financial hit over the last couple of years by not having those diversions in here. They like it. We're really only like an 18-minute flight from here to Denver, wheels up to wheels down. So we're a great diversion for that. But again, we suffer from it. Last year, one that really bothered me was we had a squadron of F-18s coming across, and a lot of times they'll stop in for fuel. But because of our runway construction, they didn't take on like 40,000 gallons of fuel. That's almost $50,000 in pure revenue that the airport lost because of that. So diversions are very critical to us, and it really hurts us when we don't have that capacity.
And then I wrap it up this way, because I know in my business, if I have one of my signals that dies for X amount of time, I got to get a hold of the feds and say, hey, we are off the air because of this situation. Don't know when. We'll get back in touch with you. Same thing, too, with our situation now with the Cheyenne Regional Airport. Airspace should be available, but also, too, is this something that you leave into the hands of our elected officials, Senator Lummis, Senator Bradshaw, also Congresswoman Harriet Hageman? Do they do the footwork, the legwork for you right now with the Fed saying, hey, in Cheyenne, we've got this going on right now, airspace is available? I mean, to me, it just seems like so mind-boggling, all of the intangibles that are going on with the airport not functioning as the people mover.
Absolutely. We are so fortunate to have those elected officials that you mentioned that are in our corner. I work with their staff regularly. They're our eyes and ears in D.C. They're watching the regulations. They're watching what's going on. They're our voice. We recently applied for a grant to redo the old terminal over on 8th Avenue. Senator Lummis' office has helped us with that. They all do. They realize the importance of the airport, and we have regular communication, and they are our liaison between the federal government at all times.
Will that, and again, follow up on the last part of this here, the old terminal. Will that ever be deemed historic, or do you have a vision what you'd like to do with that?
It's eligible to be on the historic sites. It has. It's eligible, but we don't have it that way now. But what we did is we applied for a $16 million grant from the federal government to turn that into a multi-center. Like, it'll be general aviation, our fixed-based operations. We could be there, but it can also house other things in there as well too. We've partnered with, for example, the local Arts Cheyenne. They applied for a grant too to help us redo that building. So the FAA would like for it to stay in aeronautical use. I hear a lot of people in the community like the building. So if it's got good bones, and we get this funding, we could turn it into a multi-purpose center over there.
Well, the nice thing is you'll stay busy, even though we won't be moving a lot of people out of here.
Right. The other one I'm very excited about, too, is we're going to be installing it this year. There's a silver lining to some of this.
Yeah.
Is we're expanding our parking lot. Thanks to the six-penny pallet, we've got bids out now to redo the parking lot, and we're adding a glass passenger boarding bridge to the terminal. The airport is often the first thing your impression of a community. And we do get weather here, believe it or not. So we're very excited about putting a passenger boarding bridge on the terminal. So when people get off the airplane, they walk right into the bridge and right into the terminal. So that'll be going on while we're down for service.
We'll have Tim back when the grand reopening
Yes,
is
absolutely.
going to be happening again. Stay busy, and thanks for dropping by. Tim
Thank you,
Bradshaw
guys.
joined us here, Director of the Aviation at the Cheyenne Regional Airport. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with more of KRAE Reports that we can review right here on 1480 KRAE.
I'm Brandon Warner with a Silent Witness Crime of the Week. The Laramie County Sheriff's Office is seeking information related to a larceny that occurred at an oil well site on County Road 222. Between December 12th and the 15th, over $14,000 worth of oil was stolen. If you have information about this or any other crime, call Crime Stopper Silent Witness at 638-TIPS or on the web at silentwitnesslaramiecounty.com. You will remain anonymous and may be eligible for a cash reward of up to $1,000. Together, we can make a difference.
For almost 60 years, 1480 KRAE has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOY FM, and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both KRAE and KYOY. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures, makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proetti at 307-637-0301.
For over 30 years and still delivering the results you expect is Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service. Hi, this is Larry Proetti again for cars in downtown Cheyenne, reminding you that John and his staff are there to take care of your vehicle's woes. From oil change and replacing windshield wipers to digging deep into fixing your heating and air conditioning unit or fixing your brakes and shocks. You can depend on Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service for taking care of most minor repairs. And most importantly, John is a TechNet professional, which means he is one of the best nationally when it comes to getting your car or truck back on the road as soon as possible. Check him out online at technetprofessional.com. Don't wait until the last minute. Have your vehicle serviced by one of the best in Cheyenne. Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service at 604 West Lincoln Way. Call for an appointment at 632-0498. That's 307-632-0498. Open Monday through Friday. Winter driving in Wyoming. Are you prepared? Winter storms strike quickly across Wyoming's high plains and the mountains. When they do, driving conditions can deteriorate rapidly and become very challenging. Make sure your vehicle is ready for the elements and you have an emergency preparedness kit available. Driving on slick roads, always remember slower speed, acceleration, steering, and braking. Also turn off the cruise control and always buckle up. Ice and snow. Take it slow. Know before you go. For travel info, call 511 or online at wyoroad.info. Paid for by Federal Highway Safety Funds. MHP is a certified public accounting and consulting firm located in both Cheyenne and Fort Collins, offering accounting, tax, and consulting services to businesses, not-for-profit, government, and individual clients. MHP takes pride in their commitment to providing close, personal attention to their clients. They also continue to invest time and resources in continuing education, state-of-the-art computer technology, and valuing their relationships with you. MHP is a proud supporter of local and UW athletics. MHP, 314 West 18th Street, or call 634-2151.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-298-5783. 800-298-5783. 800-298-5783. That's 800-298-5783.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise, for today, a wind chill advisory is in effect until tomorrow. Partly to mostly sunny and cold for today. Look for a daytime high near 6 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, a low down to 6 degrees below zero. Sunshine on tap for tomorrow. We're calling for a daytime high near 27, and for Tuesday night, mostly clear with our low down to 11 degrees. And we welcome you back to KRAE Reports, a week in review. I-80 rearing its ugly head, and hopefully we'll get a chance to grab somebody from the Wyoming Department of Transportation and chat about various other things, including winter weather. I do want to say this, though, to all of our crews that work within the Wyoming Department of Transportation. It's a thankless job. I mean, Nick, you know as well as I do, I know going over to Laramie, you got trucks out there, they're sanding, scraping, and it's almost like you're just taking a leak in the wind. I mean, that's basically what happens to you. I mean, Mother Nature.
The winds do not help, without a doubt, on I-80.
Mother Nature just kind of just shakes her finger at you and says, no, we're going to do it my way. Wagon Hound, and again, our story here, courtesy of the Cowboy State Daily, I've been through that. I know exactly going through it's like going through a skating rink. Elk Mountain, these places, it's just, forget about it. It's just not going to happen. And Mother Nature's going to have the final say. You could throw as much YDOT out there as you want. It's not going to get that road any better.
Well, I-80 during this wintertime, and especially this winter, as heavy as it's been, again, it's always had that adage that it's, expect road closures aplenty. And, again, we saw it this entire weekend, essentially, again, going up I-25. We know a lot of sports events got canceled. Again, high school basketball games that got rescheduled or either postponed, canceled, whatever it may be. But, again, I-80, it's always had that issue. And, again, you got to look ahead of time. And, again, incidents like this happens. It's the unfortunate thing about I-80. Again, when we get weather like this, that comes in pretty often that, again, these pileups, and more so we see it in between Cheyenne and Laramie. Again, as soon as you get to Buford, that is where that really hits. Again, those winds coming off the mountain really hits and really affects things. So, it's an unfortunate thing. But, yes, again, regarding YDOT, they're out there doing the best that they can. But to avoid situations like this where, again, you have one incident, one driver, one trucker, whatever it may be, again, they hit a patch of black ice and it causes a situation like this.
It's a chain reaction.
And again, it's also to pressure. And here's the other thing with YDOT. And again, if we get a representative in, again, obviously a lot of things to pick their brain on. But again, there is obviously a lot of pressure from probably the state of Wyoming, probably from the Fed, probably from these companies saying, hey, you can't keep I-80 closed on us. Again, if it's somewhat even remotely possible to cross that entire state on I-80, you got to open this thing up because, again, you got to transport these goods because we need to get these deliveries into wherever they are going throughout, not even just here in the state of Wyoming, but, again, across the entire nation. If this is going to California, if this is going back east, again, I-80 is a critical structure to get through, to cut across and get to, again, major hubs to make these deliveries. So I wouldn't doubt for YDOT, there's a lot of pressure to at least keep roads open as often as they can. Again, we look for this entire weekend. Again, I-25 north and I-80 all the way west out to Rock Springs or even to Evanston has been closed. And you can only imagine, again, for truckers, for those companies to make those deliveries, a little tough as they got to sit idly by with their freight right now. For travelers trying to get across the state, hey, that's a little frustrating. So, again, I wouldn't doubt there's heavy pressure of you need to open these roads. We need to get this done.
Well, yeah, you're talking, especially with the trucking industry, millions of dollars are lost, whether it's consumers, whether it's the industry itself, whether the state of Wyoming is losing this money as well. But here's the deal, too, though, Nick. The safest way to say things is, well, go south. Avoid Interstate 80 at all costs.
Well, I-70 gets closed not as often, but I-70 gets run into.
Try to avoid the Rocky Mountain region, all right? Go south like, down by Albuquerque. That way, go 40. But
which, again, that can run into snow as well, too.
I understand.
You're still going through mountains. So either way where you cut it, though, you're going to run into some sort of weather, some sort of closure. And, again, as I mentioned with I-70, usually that's a little bit better than I-80. But, again, I-70 gets, especially when you go through that pass, gets as close as often as I-80.
Here's what I think. And, again, this is just me here being older and hopefully offering some sage advice. The thing that we are running into right now in this hurry-up world, because once the gates open, people are on the charge. Boom, let's get through. We got to get to point B.
Time means money. Again,
that's exactly right.
Pressure.
And again, you have a different crew of folks that are now drivers, whether it's automobiles, whether it's trucks, semis. There's got to be an education process involved in the states, whether it's Utah, whether it's Colorado, whether it's Wyoming. But there should be some education given to these companies. And I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are some literature, and I'm sure there's film and whatever the case may be. But the insistence that they know that these road conditions are not 55 miles an hour or 45 or 35, whatever the case may be, that they have to realize that these conditions are not acceptable to current driving standards. And I think some of the blame is on us. It's on us.
I think majority of these companies that, again, offer at least semis or at least trucking jobs, again, obviously you can go through the DMV process, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they have some sort of knowledge of, hey, here's what to do when you experience weather like this, and again, how to avoid or at least how to drive on those roads. Because again, it's not like it's isolated here to Wyoming. Again, this type of weather happens all across the nation, outside of, again, a few select states. But it is what it is. It's something that also too, where I think about a year ago or at least a couple months ago, when we had similar situation or at least kind of similar pileup. That, hey, again, we look towards towards the younger kind of drivers. I don't think it's a specific age group. Again, yeah, I would be just as nervous, again, a trucker that was probably your age that thinks, hey, I have all these millions of miles on the road. I have all this time on the road. I can make it. I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And they could be as well just causing these pileups where, again, on just a fatal error of, again, hitting one rogue patch of black ice on I-80. It happens. But I would think, though, that, again, truckers are pretty well educated. Again, obviously, what you can do or teach in a classroom or, again, in a simulator is a lot different than what happens in real life when you're in it. And, again, that adrenaline kicks on, and, again, your brain has to operate of what do I need to do. Obviously, that's a lot different. But I wouldn't doubt that, again, majority of truckers, and, again, we'll even spotlight LCCC with their CDL program, you would think that they're going and educating of, hey, here's what you need to prepare, here's what you need to do, and try to get you a little bit of experience in training before you hit the real thing. But again, the real thing's a lot different than what you're taught.
Well, and the thing, too, is I think we all try to wear an S on our chest. We're all Supermen.
I think plain and simple, and again, these pileups are not, again, happening here of recently. This has been a long time. Again, we can go back, about 6, 7, 8 years ago. Again, we go back to an infamous, and it was caught on camera, again, in between Cheyenne and Laramie, where, again, it was a rogue April storm that put a lot of, at least, moisture on the ground, a lot of snow in between that pass. It was a massive pileup. And I think, if anything, especially now in this day and age with inflation, with, again, cost of goods, and, again, that pressure, I think that's the key word right now. There's pressure probably from these companies, from these individual organizations that are saying, hey, driver X, Y, and Z, I need you here in San Francisco. I need you here in Chicago. I need you here, there, wherever. I need you here now. And I think that is the pressure right now on the drivers where, again, I don't think they want to risk their lives clearly to go across these conditions or go kind of to that extreme. But I think there's significant pressure saying, hey, no, you need to get here by this time. I don't care. Do whatever it takes. Get here.
And you made a very good point there, going back to that particular instance on 80. Again, if you go and look at video, and again, and
there's video of this incident as well, too.
But you look at the video, folks aren't driving cautiously, are they? They're still driving rather at unacceptable speeds for conditions. So, again, I know we have the mile markers up, the speed markers up there, which,
It's not everywhere, though, on I-80. It's those variable speed limits are, again, pretty much predominantly between here and Laramie. But
and a little bit going
a little
towards,
bit, but not everywhere of I-80.
Well, and again, too, where they'll lower it from 75 to 55. Again, I don't know what the answer is, and again, I don't
think there is an answer. Again, if anything of what probably causes a lot of these accidents or these pileups, especially regarding weather and on our interstates. And again, it doesn't happen here. We've seen it on other interstates throughout this entire country. I think it's more so, yes, fault goes on these truck drivers, but it's not so much with them. I think it's within these companies that are putting on that pressure of saying, hey, here's your payment if you want to get paid. Or again, hey, there is a lot of stress with
time is money.
Yeah, time is money. I think that's kind of the issue, is that these companies are putting that extreme pressure on these drivers to get there as soon as they can. And again, kind of cut those corners of saying, hey, if it looks fine, go 75. What do I care? Just get there now.
Yeah, and again, too, I think those that wear that S on their chest, they think they do, they're finding that it's not working. So, again, and being one that has traveled, and I even go back to the days of driving through Donner Pass, coming out of Reno. Again, no different than driving through Elk Mountain and Arlington. I mean, it's absolutely dangerous. I guess the next question is, though, too, Nick, should you shut it, again, should the state preemptively shut it down, knowing that it's going to be bad? And again, if you haven't been through Wagon Hound, which I think all of our listeners have, the wind never stops blowing through there, even in the summer. So when you're getting,
obviously the summer you don't have to deal with conditions as is, but again, what is happening here, especially the wintertime, and again we'll see how it moves forward. But again, we know that knowledge right now with YDOT, where again they're struggling right now to get drivers, to get those plows out there on our roadways, just due to the fact, again, the worker shortage that is happening to everyone. That again, that also too plays a factor in situations like this. Again, YDOT, they're kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation regarding our roads, where again, if you close them, it puts ramifications. It costs companies dollars, it costs businesses dollars, it costs the state dollars. And, again, what do you do? I mean, and again, this extended closure, is it a result of again, lack of plows on the ground for YDOT? Is it a lack of, or was it just more purely the conditions where, again, with the wind, with the ice, with the sub-zero temperatures, was this just that perfect storm where, hey, for the next couple of days, for this entire weekend, I know it's supposed to open today, but again, for this entire weekend, we just got to shut it down.
Well, and again, too, as you talk about plows and sand and everything else, there's times where these guys are going out there and they're putting their lives on the line with it being shut down. And I think if you've talked to a veteran YDOT personnel that has been, plowing these roads for years and years and years, sometimes it's a losing battle. I mean, you go out there and you plow one section of highway, and by the time you loop around and come back and try to get the other section, that section you went and plowed is already toast.
Yeah, there's a lot of square mileage to cover, especially with having two interstates, or at least technically three up there in the northeast section, again, with 90, again, going through Gillette over to South Dakota. But, again, a lot of square mileage to cover, again, across not even the interstates, but, again, WIDOT takes care of, again, U.S. highways, Wyoming highways. There's a lot that plays into that effect as well. So, without a doubt, it is a losing battle. But, again, for those drivers, they take it slowly, that they are cautious out there, and they take their time to make sure that everything is cleared up. Again, for WIDOT, there's no blame on them for anything.
No, it's a thankless job.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's something that in this situation, you got to imagine the pressure is just unbelievable any which way. Again, whether it's WIDOT, the state, to, again, these companies, to these drivers, the pressure's there. And especially in this economic time, it's probably a little bit, that pressure's turned up a little bit higher just due to, again, cost of everything at this point in time. And again, just that time is money mentality.
Well, and you also look at, too, even going towards Laramie on some of the lands out there, whether it's fed land or an actual rancher's land, for example. They have the old wind blocks up there, snow blocks. And again, these are older apparatus that are up there to, hopefully prevent snow from flying across. But it's a losing battle. I mean, do you make miles and miles of these type of apparatus to, again, I don't know what the answer is, Nick. Mother Nature always has the upper hand in this. You can't make an 80-mile-an-hour. You can't make an 80-mile glass tube.
Well, we'll see if there's technology again as it evolves, and again regarding roadways, where again you alluded to with our airport runway, where again could you strand across that entire stretch some way to melt? Obviously, that's going to cost a lot of money, and again you're going to have to. That would be a big project to do. But I mean, is there technology in decades from now that could be a preventative measure? I wouldn't doubt. But again, it costs money, it costs time, and we'll see what happens. But for now, this is all you get, and YDOT is trying their best. But again, to avoid incidents like this, again, it's going to happen, especially when conditions get as bad as it did.
Well, and the irony of that, too, think about it, Nick, when you're going through Arlington, Elk Mountain, just for argument's sake, you're constantly having, let's just say for the next 4 or 5 months, you constantly have plows on the ground, and you're constantly sanding, and that's taking wear and tear on the road itself too. I mean, it's not the greatest asphalt or whatever you want to call it surface right now. It's got to be wearing and tearing, and with trucks going across it as well too.
Well, and again, incidents like this that tear up the road as well too, where again those vehicles again cause the gouges and gashes, which we've seen on I-80 between here and Laramie. So again that also too plays an effect, but. Again, either way, though, again, pileup happening over by Elk Mountain. Again, it has been cleared out. Again, roadway should be open, again, according to YDOT, as soon as today. So, again,
this evening.
It should, again, as conditions improve. Obviously, snow has stopped. It gives that chance to plows to really catch up. So we shall see, again, what this ripple effect happens across the state of Wyoming. Very quickly, though, we want to get into kind of the locale. And, again, we're seeing it here in Laramie County, but the city of Cheyenne, where we give YDOT kind of the benefit of the doubt. You look here in the city of Cheyenne, and again, Laramie County, that had a lot of issues. Let's talk about, again, what happened with Burns and Pine as well, too. A lot of those county roads were massively affected, caused a lot of cancellations or postponements for a lot of events, and again, obviously for the high school events, but it kind of seems on the locale side, as we gave, again, where we had Mayor Collins we gave him props a couple of years ago when we brought him in studio, kind of seems this season plows, or at least it kind of seems like the roadway crews here in town, again across Laramie County, kind of lacking. Now, is that because of lack of plow availability, lack of drivers? Was it, again,
funds.
Wasn't a concern? Yeah, funds, concern. Again, who knows? But it kind of seems like here in town, compared to years past, plows were kind of a little bit lacking here in our kind of part of the world, where it seemed like in years past was never a concern. It was even the non kind of arterial ways here in Cheyenne were even getting plowed and cleared out.
Well, again, I think the commitment to the city of Cheyenne is the 5 majors: Del Range, Pershing, Lincoln Way, Converse, and College.
Yeah.
I think those, and I'm sorry, add Yellowstone. These are the roads that must be drivable. The one thing that we are probably driving into here, Nick, are the neighborhoods. Usually there has been a plow that has come through all neighborhoods and at least made one lane available through the neighborhoods. We didn't see that.
But even those
through these storms,
even those offshoots, and not even so much the neighborhoods, but even the offshoot roads, again, in years past, were getting cleared out. And again, we've had similar storms like this. Again, go back to the infamous blizzard of, what was that, 2020 or something like that, where again that massive storm that dumped a lot. Again, that snow got cleared out pretty fast, and again, even for neighborhood streets. So that's kind of the concern right now of what happened. What's the difference between last year and this year, where roadways are, again, a little subpar, especially with these conditions, and it is a little concerning, where, again, even look to Sun Valley with, again, some of those arterial streets that are, again, offshoot of Pershing, offshoot of College. Mm-hmm. They're still a little suffering, or a little behind, even with this additional snow, which, again, is, like I said, again, plain and simple, a little concerning right now.
Well, and I think, too, dependent on how many snowstorms we have, and again, too, not knocking city or county crews. Again, once again, a thankless job. But again, they're out in the early mornings.
Yeah.
So when they're out in the early mornings, that is overtime. Okay? So you have X amount put aside in your budget the city budget. We'll use the city budget
And
for snow removal.
Yeah, and again, plain simple, is it the city budget right now? Is that lacking right now? At least, and again, we talked with Mayor Collins where, hey, we were outsourcing outside of city vehicles, but again, whoever had a plow, and again, we see residential neighborhoods, or at least you'll see those kind of property, at least type plows that are available out here in Cheyenne that were hitting those streets, but it doesn't seem like they're doing it anymore. Is it just lack of bodies? Is it lack of funds right now is causing this kind of issue here in 2023?
I'm going to probably go with the latter, lack of funds. I really do, because, again, anytime a snowstorm comes down, you got crew coming out, whether they are sanding or scraping. Again, that's overtime pay because they're doing this in the early morning. And then you got them out through the course of the day, and they're out there scraping and plowing as well. So I'm going to go out with the lack of funding right now. This is costing the city and the county piles of money, and I just don't think they've got that extra cabbage right now to go through the neighborhoods like they've done in the past, or ask for outside help as well. All right, we do need to take a timeout. We're going to come back. Chief Mark Francisco joins us from the Cheyenne Police Department. We will have him sitting in here in just a little bit. You are listening to KRAE Reports, a week in review. I'm Larry Perotti. He's Nick Perotti. Back after these words.
For nearly 30 years, family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts, no compromise.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Sponsored by Specialty Medical. 800-245-3098. 800-245-3098. 800-245-3098. That's 800-245-3098.
Cheyenne Regional wants to help you eat better, move more, and live longer. Join us at our annual Wake Up to Heart Health event on February 4th at 9 a.m. at the New Blue Community Events Center. You'll hear the survival story of a heart attack patient and his harrowing journey to the hospital, and from a Cheyenne Regional cardiologist about reducing your risk factors for a heart attack. The cost to attend this life-changing event is only $25. To register, visit CheyenneRegional.org/wakeup by January 31st.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-245-1537. 800-245-1537. 800-245-1537. That's 800-245-1537.
1480 KRAE is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 KRAE features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 KRAE, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480krae.com.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one stop to shop for these Super Radio buys, heard only right here. Jägermeister Liqueur, 750 milliliter bottles, $16.99. Busch or Busch Light, 30-pack, 12-ounce cans, $19.99. And Jameson Irish Whiskey, 750 milliliter bottles, $16.99. Town and Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
Hi, it's Lee at Absolute Flooring. It's time to put 2022 behind us and get 2023 off to a great start. The best way to do that is with new flooring from Absolute Flooring. With a large variety of flooring products and a multitude of styles, colors, and prices, your new floor awaits you. And with the best in installers, get your new year started off right with a stop at Absolute Flooring in the Cheyenne Plaza and at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store, absolutely.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise for today, a wind chill advisory is in effect until tomorrow. Partly to mostly sunny and cold for today. Look for a daytime high near 6 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, a low down to 6 degrees below zero. Sunshine on tap for tomorrow. We're calling for a daytime high near 27, and for Tuesday night, mostly clear with our low down to 11 degrees.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. And now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
And we welcome you back to KRAE Reports, a week in review. I'm Larry Proetti, along with Nick Proetti, as I get to play musical chairs here. Now, sitting in my former chair is Chief of Police for the Cheyenne Police Department, Mark Francisco. You know, Mark, I want to get into this real quick here, and there's a lot of things to talk about as far as what's going on with the PD. Protocol procedures that you have in place for weather situations that we are involved in right now, most notably would be motor vehicle accidents. If I recall, some of the protocol would be in weather situations like this, you would rather have the parties take care of them themselves, and, you know, instead of getting law enforcement involved, because again, you guys are off to 18,000 other calls. But tell us a little bit, you know, when we get into icy roads, accidents, and the like.
Yeah, so, you know, when you have conditions like those, you tend to have a lot of wrecks, but most of them are generally pretty minor, little fender benders and things like that. So we have a finite amount of officers and CSOs available all the time. So we like to keep them available for either more serious crashes or other incidents that are, you know, continually going on around the city. So we ask during those times that people exchange information and make their report later, as long as there's not injuries involved or some kind of you know, driver impairment or those kinds of things. They can really take care of, you know, clear the roadway and take care of that at a later time. So we ask the public's indulgence. You know, we'd like to get to every accident, but we just can't do it during those times. And we would hate to have everybody tied up on a minor fender bender if something serious comes along and we're not available.
All right, let's get into the crux of our program: crime, vandalism, car thefts.
Sure.
And I'll pick on car thefts first, because, and again, there's no perfect way unless you got, you know, a regular key and a valet key, or you know, because right. I still have that, for example, where I don't have to push a button or, you know, start my car. But unfortunately,
old school.
Yeah, unfortunately, this day and age, you know, we're seeing a little more of those clowns running around and trying to take off with our vehicles. So, again, I think we're seeing a little uptick in that right now, especially during this weather time.
Yeah, winter months always, you know, folks want to leave their car out and warm it up, and it makes an attractive target for people to steal. And a lot of times they're stealing it for a ride. You know, they just go across town and dump the thing off. So, we every winter, you know, whether it was here or where I was from, we talked a lot about this. Don't leave your car running unattended. Because it makes it a really attractive target. Now I would say that this time last year we were looking at a lot more auto thefts than we are this year. We've made some progress. You know, we frequently find out that a lot of crime is committed by a few people. And you know, when the jail got up and running, the courts got up and running, we were able to have some impact on some of our frequent flyer criminals, to include auto theft. So. We got some of the right people in jail, so we did see a downturn in property crimes overall this past year, which we're happy about and hope to continue this year. But the opportunities are still there for people to steal a car if they want to. So we would caution people to be careful.
We talk about car thefts, but something that, again, we brought you in, Chief, and again, we appreciate you coming in to discuss some of the kind of big stories that have already happened and kicked off here in 2023. Let's start here in January 3rd. It was a Tuesday, kind of late at night here in town, 1800 block of East 19th Street. We had at least officers respond to a scene where apparently a victim was at least hit by a gunshot wound. At least the committee of the crime, again, at least committer of the crime, was arrested in this situation. But let's go back to Tuesday, January 3rd, where we already started off the year with a bang in kind of what was a shooting incident here in town.
Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of these in Cheyenne. And we were generally, successful in tracking down a suspect due to our own investigative efforts and a great deal of help we get from the public here in Cheyenne. They're willing to be a witness. They're willing to tell us what they know. So, thankful that we were able to make an arrest and take somebody violent off the street. So it's a successful conclusion, but it would certainly be nice if it didn't happen in the first place.
Moving on to at least 3 days later, and something that unfortunately we witnessed along with a few others in front of Cheyenne South after, again, that basketball game against Green River at Cheyenne South, where a minor was involved in a stabbing incident where, again, our recollection of the event where, again, we were about 20 feet from it, again, along with others, where, again, it was a group of individuals, again, couldn't see because it was a dark portion of Cheyenne South in front, where, again, it looked like a good old scrum. It looked like they fell due to, again, the icy conditions out there in South. Later, then we find out the fact that, again, at least minor, a 16-year-old student was stabbed in this incident. I guess for you, Chief, and again, we had a chance to talk with Wendy Johnson, AD at Cheyenne South, the past week to get her understanding of the situation, where it sounded like she didn't call for at least a CSO or at least an officer to at least be in attendance at that at least contest that Friday night. I guess, is that an AD's call, or I mean, does the Cheyenne Police Department make sure that we have officers out there, even if an AD says no, we don't need that at least enforcement for kind of big time contests? And again, that weekend was the James Johnson Winter Classic that brought a lot of folks into all three of our gymnasiums here in town.
They're usually pretty good about having the SROs work those functions. And my understanding is we did have one, but they were inside. So generally, it is a school call whether they want to staff these type of events with officers, because it does cost them some money to do it. But I believe most of the bigger events are staffed by police officers, but that's one, maybe two guys. So if they're inside, something like this can kick off anywhere, as we've seen. And unfortunately, in today's world, it's not just a wrestling match or a couple of fists being thrown. There's frequently a weapon being brought into the equation. Such was the case at in this instance. And the suspect was identified quickly, and I believe is still in custody down in Colorado on some unrelated charges. But we have submitted a case on that and are waiting for the DA to review it and make a charging decision on that. So it's another one where thankfully we got the suspect, we know who it is, and we're moving forward with the justice process.
Mark, are you? Let me use this phrase with the Cheyenne Police Department. Does the Cheyenne Police Department consult the schools in and again, let's look at our three big schools, East, South, and Central. The situation I look back on at South, and Nick and myself pointed that out to Wendy Johnson, where it was dark. You left the main part of the building. You ran into a very dark spot. I know there was cameras there. Then you run out to a lighted parking lot. Or in this case, a weapon was used. Do you consult the schools, like maybe it's time to put in, a device to, make sure you walk through, and if it beeps, you got a weapon on you, that type of situation? Or, hey, we suggest that you maybe put an additional bank of lights. Are you into that type of business as well to help eliminate these type of crimes?
Yeah, we certainly consider the school district a valuable partner of ours, and we've had, I believe, a long history here in Cheyenne of working closely with them. So I know we've, over the years, done active shooter training. We've made suggestions for security improvements, and we collaborate a lot on that kind of thing. This particular instance, I don't know that there's been any suggestions back and forth about how to alleviate some of the concerns you just mentioned. But we're certainly more than willing to give our perspective on security and hardening of buildings, if you will, and some of the experiences that we've developed over the years. We're more than happy to share, and we've found the school district to be an attentive partner. If we make suggestions, they certainly seriously consider it.
I was going to say, again, regarding sticking on this topic, and again, this is kind of more opinionated question for you, Mark, where regarding our schools, and again, this is kind of the day and age that we live in. Again, thankfully, massive events have not happened here in the state of Wyoming, and again, for about a couple decades. Again, it's happened, but again, it has not been as recent as we see California, Colorado, again, throughout this entire United States. But is it something that, for you, for the school district, and again, it costs money, everything costs money,
Sure.
but is this something that our high schools, especially here in Cheyenne, again, as we see this growth and we see these incidents kind of happen here and there, is this something that schools should be proactive of getting metal detectors or adding an officer at the front, or again, adding more and more security measures? Is that something that we should be more proactive as we kind of see what's happening outside of our state borders?
I think on the school theme, we should always, take advantage of the tuition someone else has paid, and certainly keep track of trends around the country, because like most things, trends work their way around, and will most certainly come to Cheyenne at some point or another. Whether we're at the point of, running everybody through a metal detector before they go into school, I would like to hope not. It's a pretty intrusive, slow, expensive process. But it won't take too many more incidents like this to where it probably needs to be seriously considered by the school district. That comes with all kinds of issues. I've worked in a jurisdiction that had that, and it was by necessity. I'm not ready to say it's necessary here, but it certainly should be on the back burner of, if things get worse, how do we mitigate the security risk that takes.
Let's talk about the tragedy that happened on Delrange. And again, for the Cheyenne Police Department, you've been busy here
Sure.
in January.
Yep.
You do a lot better than I have. It's been a light month for us. But let's talk about that situation where 3 arrests were made, and a very unfortunate situation that happened. And the third arrest was the driver who actually made the 911 call. Is the investigation portion of the program over now, and we move to the court process? Explain to our listeners all of that is entailed here.
Yeah, I would say it's largely over. The case is never really, the investigation process is never really completely over until it goes to trial and is adjudicated. So the way it works, we put our case file together, we submit it to the district attorney, who may then file charges, as they did in this case. As they review the case, a lot of times there's details that they think of that maybe we didn't, or some clarification that they need done. So the investigation is ongoing throughout the entire process. But it's largely over now. We think we know everything we needed to know about what happened, which led to the charges you mentioned. So, the district attorney Hackle and her staff get a look at the case and get closer to trial, they may have some concerns or some additional. They look at it a little bit differently than the police do. They've got to prove a case with beyond a reasonable doubt, where we're just at the probable cause level, which is a little bit less. So they may need some loose ends tied up, or maybe, just speaking in general, lab results come back, and that may require some additional investigation, those kinds of things. So it's never really complete till the trial's over, I would say.
Mark, as we've outlined, again, 3 situations that have happened here in the month of January. Now, this is kind of, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but again, it is something that, comes up every time we have situations like this here in town. Again, obviously, Alex sees it, again, your social media, again, the comments section on the Facebook side. Hey, is crime all of a sudden now rampant here in the city of Cheyenne? I guess what I'm asking you, Mark, these 3 incidents that have happened, again, big, that caught a lot of eye here in the city of Cheyenne, is this an indication that crime's all of a sudden here in 2023 on that uptick all of a sudden here for Cheyenne?
Well, I would caution people not to draw a conclusion from the first month of the year. Trend lines, we generally look at them in terms of months. Last year, we did a 6-month evaluation of the trend lines in crime. They were going down. They stayed down through the rest of the year. So generally, Cheyenne's moving in the right direction. We're trying to get back to, say, your 2018, 2019 time frame. We're a little bit higher than that. So you look at crime trends in terms of years. You threw COVID in, you threw jail closing, you threw, criminal justice system largely shutting down for, a year or 18 months. We're digging out of a hole still, but we have that relatively low crime rate of 2018 in sight, and that's what we're looking for. So we had, double-digit decreases in crime in 2022 over 2021. So the overall trend of the crime rate is positive. So while the events of January are certainly concerning, I would urge people not to draw any conclusions from that just yet.
Speaking of social media as well, too, I've noticed over the past couple of months that, again, we're introducing new officers to Cheyenne PD. Right now, as it stands, as we head into the month of February, are we at a happy number of officers here in Cheyenne, or are we still looking to fill a little bit more vacancies here?
Yeah, we have a few vacancies, but we're really that trend has been positive as well. We're at 106 officers. We're authorized 111. We have really 110 when you consider the job offers out there. Some of them are military. They haven't started yet. So we're doing really well compared to a lot of other communities around this area and the country. It's a tough recruiting environment. Law enforcement's taken a little bit of a downturn as far as the desirability for people to get into. But this is, I tell people all the time, it's a great place to be in law enforcement. It's a supportive community. It's a supportive state. And we're getting some traction from elsewhere in the country of people wanting to move here and continue their law enforcement career. So 106 is certainly doable. When I first got here, we were in the 90s. So we're doing okay, but we still have our eye on the prize of hitting 111, and we really think we can hit that this year.
Chief, let's talk about, I wish it would be a perfect world and it would make your life so much easier, the drug problem. And again, I go back a decade, maybe a decade and a half, where meth labs were kind of popping up here in Cheyenne. They, for all I know, they could still be around. I don't know. But obviously the drug cartels that are coming through the South and making their way up north, are we seeing, unfortunately, that uptick that is starting to reach our community right now? And again, how are you, tracking this?
Yeah, so meth is still around, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it was. It's a big manufacturing process to make that stuff, and it's not easy. It's burdensome and it's expensive. What we see now is the fentanyl. It's cheap. It comes through the southern border via China. It's easy to transport. It's cheap. It's unfortunately though, it can be very deadly. So it's one of the main problems we're seeing now is the influx of fentanyl and the overdoses associated with it. We have some statutes that allow us to charge people that provide fentanyl or any kind of drug that leads to a death. It's mostly in the federal system. There's a bill going through our legislature right now that would make it a crime punishable in the state system. So we're hopeful that gets some traction. And forgive me, I don't have the number of it of that bill off the top of my head, but when things like this happen, we have to make sure our laws are on point to deal with it, and that's one of the ways that we can try and affect the dealership network. But yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem all over the country. I think the last stats I saw were estimating that fentanyl deaths lead to about 50,000 deaths a year in the United States. So, I'm going to criticize our federal government here. They're really failing us on the southern border. It's just wide open for these guys to bring these narcotics in. The people aside, it's these narcotics that are streaming in our southern border that need to be shut off.
Real quick, changing of the guard over in the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, the man you replaced as chief of police now, the new sheriff, talk about the cooperation. And again, too, obviously, he knows the doings of the Cheyenne Police Department. You've been at the helm for a while now. Talk about the cooperation, because again, if there isn't any cooperation, then this community is in big trouble, because again, law enforcement is so important. And one of the nice things that I really enjoy about being in this part of the world, we do respect law enforcement up here. And again, it has to come within your own ranks. So, Chief of Police, Sheriff, how's that gone so far?
Yeah, it's been going good. We've had a few meetings looking for places where it makes sense to collaborate on. One of the things we were going to do this morning was some crosswalk safety stuff. Of course, school got canceled. When scheduling there just went a little poorly. But we all have a vested interest in a lot of areas of the criminal justice system here in Laramie County and Cheyenne in particular. So, the sheriff and I realize we're all kind of fishing from the same pond of criminals, if you will. So it makes a lot of sense to, collaborate, whether it's long-term or short-term projects. So I'm looking forward to developing that relationship. I have praised Sheriff Kozak for his handling of the police department. I feel like I came into a place that was really, really running well, and largely to his leadership. So I'm looking forward to see what he does with the sheriff's department. I think they've got a bright future under his leadership, and if they can keep that jail open and running. I know he's got some staffing issues over there. I think we've seen in the last year how vitally important it is to be able to book people into your county jail and keep that open. So that was one of his main campaign issues, and I have no doubt that he'll fulfill that. So I look forward to those areas we can cooperate. We have our federal partners, which we all cooperate with as well. So anytime you can get the team's resources together versus just one of the entities, it's helpful, and it's really best practice and the way to go. So I think it's going to be good.
Mark, you touched on it again. Let's give a little bit more details coming up next Monday here across town. Again, Highway Patrol, Police Department, Sheriff's Office, again, all at least going to be a force out there early in the morning around our school zones. But let's talk about what this initiative is, and again, what exactly Police Department is going to be doing coming up next Monday morning.
Yeah, well, it was actually this Monday morning, so we missed our opportunity today. We still are in talks about when we can put all those resources back together. But I would say, based on the tragedy that happened in the school crosswalk, the Cheyenne Police Department's made this a priority for the entire school year. We've been doing it since August. We have, I anticipate us having over 500 traffic stops in the school zones before this year's over. We're well over 400 now. So this kind of builds on that. This was an effort to staff almost every school at the same time, which takes more resources than any of us have on our own. So that was the goal today. I'm sure it'll probably be rescheduled in the near future to try and get that at least for a day. With our resources, we've been alternating schools and moving around, so everybody gets a little bit of police presence, and obviously it's been been a bit effective. We've run into a lot of things that we could address directly with the folks that are there. So we've tried to do a little bit of PSA type work, public announcements, just awareness, pay attention. You're in school zone. School started again. Alex and I were out talking about that right before school started, and then combine it with presence. It's not an effort to write a bunch of tickets necessarily. It's an effort to educate people and get them thinking. Remember to be, cognizant of what you're doing. There's a lot of distractions these days when you're driving a car. So it's that, and then also some information to the parents to talk to their kids about as they walk to school, to pay attention to what they're doing as well, because frequently it's a little bit of inattention on both parties parts. So if everybody pays attention to what they're doing will have a lot better results.
Yeah,
So,
plain and simple to avoid, again, the incidents that we had, at least last year, I do believe so, again, at our crosswalks here in town. Not to put you on the spot, Mark, but again, as we talk about community service, and again, kudos to the police department, again, where we have phenomenal events where you guys get out in front of the community, you host community events for folks to meet the officers, get informed, again, get accompanied with the citizens, and again, our at least police officers. I guess off the top of your mind, again, I go back to the summertime event that we had over at Blue Federal Credit Union. Are we looking at more or at least similar events coming up here in 2023 to get officers in front of the citizens and kind of have those community events?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, neighborhood night out's a big thing. We'll certainly be doing that again. We're also talking about putting together some just general crime meetings where citizens can come and voice their concerns, ask our opinion, ask for our help. We're looking at getting some officers trained in crime prevention through environmental design. It's kind of a big program nationwide, so we can help businesses and even residences with suggestions how they can secure their own facility or home better through lighting, through cameras, through things like that. We don't currently have anybody certified in that, so we're looking to get some training there. So we're gonna have those opportunities coming up this year.
Mark, we've been throwing a lot of questions at you this morning or this afternoon, and I wanted to throw it back into your lap where you can give us the fatherly advice. And again, we all know the news that's going on, all over the nation. And again, some of the bigger cities where they are out of control.
Sure.
And again, to lack of respect for our men out in the streets, our men and women out in the streets. A little bit of advice to us citizens that we can do our part to help the Cheyenne Police Department.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to be here. I've seen another perspective, and I much prefer the one I have here to the one I left. The nice thing about Cheyenne is people do believe in law and order. They are involved. They do step forward. They do take action. They do cooperate with law enforcement. There are so many, there's 65,000 people that live here. There's 65,000 sets of eyes. There's only a few of ours on duty at any one time. So your cooperation, your willingness to help, your willingness to step forward is a big help. Maybe the one thing that you saw doesn't lead to something, but it's all a piece of the puzzle that helps us solve trending issues. So we've had the vehicle burglaries that we talked about. Some of those will go unsolved. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But if you have some information, then maybe it puts it together with somebody else's crime, and it leads us to a suspect, and maybe not your crime, but maybe somebody else's. So people are very willing to step forward and help. And just the spirit of volunteerism in this community is fantastic. Whether it's crime problems or CFD or what have you, the whole town runs on volunteers, and it's a fantastic system. So I would urge people to hang on to that. Don't lose hope. Cooperate. Help.
Chief Mark Francisco, the Cheyenne Police Department, join us here on KRAE Reports, a week in review. We will be back with more right after these words on 1480 KRAE.
The next time you have a craving for authentic Mexican cuisine, visit Hacienda Guadalajara at 317 East Lincoln Way. Locally owned and operated, they serve their dishes with family tried and true recipes with the freshest of ingredients, made to order. Start off your meal with their complimentary chips, salsa, and bean dip. And if you're feeling adventurous, enjoy your favorite margarita or cerveza. Hacienda Guadalajara, where the spice is always nice.
Okay, we all have to wait for the big pro football game, but we don't have to wait for Burry Jewelers' 33rd annual Big Game Day sale going on now. Save 50 to 75% from Cheyenne's trusted jeweler since 1922. Don't wait. Stop in today and save big on every watch, every ring, every necklace, and every set of earring studs. This total liquidation sale is your chance to get that piece of fine jewelry you've been wanting. Stop in today and save. BurryJewelers.com.
There may be a chill in the air, but the action is always hot and heavy at the three locations of Wyoming Downs in the Cheyenne Plaza, inside the Outlaw Saloon on the South Greeley Highway, and on Delrange Boulevard next to Culver's Office Depot. You can watch and place your pari-mutuel wager on a variety of simulcast horse races from the nation and the world's tracks And check out the excellent selections of games offered by Wyoming Downs, where you can win a lot of cash. Remember to pick up your player's card and enjoy Triple Points Monday and Club 55 midweek, along with other specials. Win big today and bring your friends to Wyoming Downs in the Cheyenne Plaza, inside the Outlaw Saloon on the South Greeley Highway and at 1345 Delrange Boulevard. For more information, go to wydowns.com.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Cheyenne Urological has been the cornerstone of urinary care to Cheyenne and its surrounding communities for over 30 years. With their fine expert doctors, along with their highly trained staff, they will provide top quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence. Cheyenne Urological is now offering cutting-edge robotic surgery. So call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131 for compassionate expert urinary care. That's 635-4131.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise, for today, a wind chill advisory is in effect until tomorrow. Partly to mostly sunny and cold for today. Look for a daytime high near 6 degrees. Partly cloudy for tonight, or low down to 6 degrees below zero. Sunshine on tap for tomorrow. We're calling for a daytime high near 27, and for Tuesday night, mostly clear with our low down to 11 degrees. Well, we welcome you back to KRAE Reports, a week in review. I'm sure you have looked at your latest heating bill, and again, it's been once we set the clocks back, we fell back. That's when our heating bill started going up because again, we got into a bunch of cold, and there's no let up in sight. So here locally, we have Black Hills Energy. My bad. And again, for the county, it's High West Energy. Well, now the Senate is favoring letting the state, not the power company, set rates to buy surplus renewable energy. And where I'm at with this, Nick, anytime government gets involved, I get a little nervous. And because we're a free enterprise, again, the premise is for us to be a free enterprise system. Black Hills, your bill is up $100, whatever the case may be, from October, or it's up $150 from last year. We knew it was going to happen. I mean, it's not like we weren't told that our prices were going up.
Yeah.
And so we had to prepare for this. Again, getting the state involved now, I'm a little nervous about this.
But here's the situation where, again, for instance, if you got solar panels on your house, or, again, if you're running off a windmill on your property, and, again, you have this energy surplus, basically Senate is looking into a bill right now of saying, hey, instead of power companies, which, again, here in Cheyenne, for instance, or, again, you even look at it on the county, again, you have just one power company, again, whether it's High West, whether it is Black Hills, instead of the power companies that may shortchange you to buy up that energy to use within kind of the city or the county grid to at least alleviate some of those costs. Instead, the Senate's right now looking to pass a bill saying, hey, instead of the power companies, why not the state offer kind of a set medium across the entire state of, hey, if you got energy surplus, we'll buy it off of you for this certain rate. Again, as much as, yes, I'm with you of avoid government of basically setting that at least kind of that
standard,
standard, that rate across the entire state. Again, here in Wyoming, though, we're kind of in that interesting situation where, again, look here in Cheyenne, you have Black Hills as your option. Well, if you go to Black Hills and they want to buy up your power, they're going to go, hey, we're the only cat in town. We're going to offer you at this rate, which might be lower than, say Casper, who, again, I don't know their energy situation, but again, or at least power companies up there. But again, say if they have two, well, again, at least business or, again, a house owner up there can go and kind of look at their options of saying, hey, here's this, here's that. So, again, it's an interesting bill that's coming forth. And, again, we'll see if it moves forward. But, again, I get it to where they're coming from, again, to kind of set that rate. So, again, the loan companies that are within our state borders don't shortchange if we're, giving them at least our surplus energy.
See, and the deal is, too, and this is, again, is courtesy of the Cowboy State Daily. Those who can't afford or are unable to have such systems end up paying for those who do, and that's one of the, according to the bill supporters, they're arguing about that right now because, again, not everybody can afford renewable energy, Nick, and that's just the crux of it. And again, too, why should I have to pay even more for situations such as that? So, again, a lot of things always come up before the legislature. Do I think this is actually going to die? I think it's going to eventually die because I just don't see it being ready to present to the entire state right now because, again, there's a lot of differing opinions on it.
Well, and again, outside of buying the energy surplus or at least setting that rate, also too, it would be the state setting rates for, or at least kind of subsidies of encouraging folks to get on that green renewable energies, again, installing solar panels where, hey, instead of Rocky Mountain Power or, again, Black Hills Energy, instead of here's a 30% kind of subsidy or at least, I guess plain simple subsidy going towards your solar panels on your roof. Instead, here's a state coming up and saying, no, here's our rate is going to be a little bit more favorable as we try to push to, again, that green or at least kind of alleviate the grid, so to speak, here in the state of Wyoming. Again, I get where they're coming from. Will it move forward? I don't see it, especially where, again, it might be kind of dirty money on the back end that kind of pushes us away and saying, no, hey, you only have select few power companies, especially, again, the big one, at least out here of Black Hills. They might look into this going, no, we're not in favor of that. We're going to start upping bills, or who knows what they may threaten to the state of Wyoming if this were to at least be enacted. So, again, will it move forward? That is to be determined. Could it move forward? Should it move forward?
I should move. I think it should move forward, but I think
so.
It's going to eventually die. I just don't think it's got the muscle right now. It's a good discussion piece. And again, the Public Service Commission of Wyoming now has to get involved in this, and they would be the ones that would initiate or set the rates. And I don't think they're ready to do that yet. Because again, solar power in our part of the world, for example, it's not like it's brand new. It's been around for a long time, but there are some that do, some that don't, and those that are right down the middle who will just go right through their respective power companies. I think if you are looking to lower your power bills, then you would need competitives. And again, who's a competitor to Black Hills?
Which again, it would, again, if this moves forward, this would hurt some of those competitives. Again, some of the smaller, like I know here in Cheyenne, we have at least one, I think it's the Wyco kind of wind and solar or something like that, of kind of installing that. Again, this would hurt that, at least kind of those competitions, to at least move that initiative towards a greener opportunity. I do believe as well, too, looking at the Senate file, which is 92, that, again, I think this also, too, focuses heavily on solar power, does ignore kind of the wind turbines that, again, you see here in town as well, too. Not so much in town, but, again, on the outskirts within the county. I think this also, too, at least according to the bill, does ignore those wind farm systems, which, again, you got to imagine, if you want to use that, again, this is the perfect place to use wind turbines to power your property, power your house. Because, again, What do we have plentiful of is wind.
And unfortunately, the wind turbines, the good majority of them here in our state, are farmed out elsewhere. And that's, again, we're not even taking advantage of it. So, again,
again, the big ones that we see that, again, are out going towards Laramie, we know that does bring in revenue. Again, not so much energy, but, again, it brings in revenue for, the city of Cheyenne or at least Laramie County, the state of Wyoming. So at least there is that. But, again, for private residents, for, again, landowners, homeowners that, again, want to move into that direction, have those subsidies, and, again, those incentives to get off the grid, again, kind of get into that renewable energy. Again, it seems like kind of hurts those businesses that are looking to install for, again, residents. It kind of hurts those smaller companies here in the state. But, again, it's hurting the small, but it kind of kicks the bigs in the rear, so to speak, of,
right.
Hey, you can't control, you can't say. No, instead it's going to be our choice, that being the state. So, this is probably going to fail more than likely as we're talking about it, as we're describing. This is something that this Senate file needs to be a little bit more ironed out to, again, look at all aspects and also to kind of protect, yes, those smaller companies within, not just here in Cheyenne, but, again, throughout the entire state that offer these services or these installations. That how do we make it doable for them to incentivize residents here in this cowboy state to kind of move to that greener.
And again, I like the bill per se, but I'm also a free enterprise guy. So, and again, too, you look at a Black Hills Energy.
Free enterprise works when, again, you have options, and that's kind of the concern. There's not there's not well-known options here.
Yeah, we only have the two options, and again, High West does not cross lines here in Cheyenne. They've got boundaries with Black Hills Energy. But again, like I said, the Public Service Commission getting involved along with the state Senate. Anytime government gets involved, I'm sorry, I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. It makes me nervous. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, I'm a free enterprise guy, and I'll leave it at that. All right, we got time for one more here before we get going here?
Yeah, we do. Looking at it, again, this is also coming from the Cowboys State Daily. Again, thank you to them. Again, go over there and read a lot of their articles as we do, again, as we report on what they are reporting on. But, again, something coming out of the House of looking at lowering the bar for tax relief. This is kind of regarding homeowners. Basically kind of upping the threshold of saying for rebates regarding how it's kind of, if anything, where, again, homeowning is such a difficult thing, and again, where we see here in Cheyenne, again, how quickly these homes kind of go, or at least how expensive they are now becoming. This is kind of incentivizing folks out there that don't be scared to buy a home. Here's kind of tax relief, or at least they're upping those kind of percentage rates, saying, hey, more of you are now going to be qualified. If this goes forward, more of you are going to be qualified for rebates and kind of tax relief if you are looking to go at least towards homeowning. So,
well, it ups the ante.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing. If you are a homeowner, I think it would ups the ante from 50% to 90%, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at the numbers one more time. So, in addition to expanding the pool of eligible homeowners, House Bill 99 would increase rebate amounts from 50% to 90% of the applicant's prior year property taxes. However, it can't exceed 50% of the homeowner's median residential property tax liability. So again, you like that the lawmakers are looking out for those of us that are homeowners.
It's more money back to you that, again, is voiding taxes, and again, these rebates that, again, it seemed like qualifications are more strict and more tough to get. This bill is more so of saying, hey, we're going to relax it here in the state, and again, allow more homeowners within the state borders to, again, qualify and get this money back. Which, again, this is one bill that should go forward. Who could be against this? I don't know. Or again, what was the reasoning? I wouldn't doubt it's outlined in that article. But again, it's something that this just makes plain and simple sense.
Well, and again, too, you look at also, I think the lawmakers are bringing this up to a certain degree because the way the Fed has upped its rates, and to get a home these days is going to be exceptionally outrageous. And like you said, the rates of homes right now are extremely high. So, those of us that are already in place owning homes, we're getting cut a break. And and again, it's the incentive for those that are kind of on the fence about buying a home. It's like, hey, you need to buy a home. We're going to help you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, anytime you hear the word rebate, you get excited to a certain degree. It usually comes with strings. This one doesn't come with any strings. I like that. That's the part of the bill I like.
And this is also too something that, again, with the House bill, which again did pass the committee, as I see again with a 9-0 vote. So again, it was overwhelmingly favored, at least to move forward. This also too kind of incentivizes more so, or at least this is giving money back to also to those who again are above that income threshold a little bit higher. So again, where we kind of say, hey, tax the rich. This is something that kind of alleviates where, in my mind, again, I understand the theory of taxing the rich, but it's something that, again, these are business owners. These are, again, they are small business owners here, especially in this state, that, again, give them a little tax relief. Hopefully that equates going into the business, going into, again, employees, going into, again, upping wages, monies that can go back into the community, whether it's investing into community colleges, high schools, into the city. I see this as hopefully, potentially a benefit top to bottom, especially for those on the lower end that, again, are qualifying for these rebates, but now will get a little bit more of that money back towards them. But this also, too, again, for those who are making a little bit more comfortable living, gives them a little bit of a tax relief that, in theory, and I say in theory, even though folks will abuse it, but again, hopefully it's something that for those, especially in those circumstances of being small business owners here in this state, that, again, this tax relief helps them out, that benefits that money that could gone to taxes. Instead, they can now invest, whether into their businesses, whether into the cities, to the counties, to whatever this or that.
Well, it's interesting to note because, again, to me, I've never really paid much attention to it. And this is being titled the Property Tax Refund Program. But of the 4,393 applicants from the 2021 tax year, more than 3,000 qualified for rebate checks. 70% of rejected applications were denied in 2021 due to applicants exceeding the income restrictions. I didn't even realize it. I mean, to me, I'm sitting here getting excited about it and didn't realize this program was already in place. Matter of fact, according to the House, the program had never issued rebates in excess of $1 million until this past tax year, providing more than $1.8 million, ranging on average from $33 to $601. Mark Gordon made available an additional $1 million for the program in his supplemental budget proposal for a total of $4 million during the biennium funding. Now, the Joint Appropriations Committee upped the ante. Gordon's proposal to $5 million, increasing proposed total funding for the program to $8 million. The JAC added a caveat that it can be reduced based on need. Again, this is all news to me. And you would figure,
obviously it's not well advertised again.
Yeah, you would figure I would know something like this.
You would figure that, again, this is something that kind of falls on a real estate agent that would be educated on this and saying, hey, as you're buying this house, here's that, at least incentive or, again, rebate program when you buy this home. So, or at least get educated. And, again, it seems like from the article that, again, it seems like what representatives were seeing was that as soon as you saw the income requirements for that rebate, people just kind of strayed away from it completely and didn't think that they qualified for it. So that was kind of the issue as well, too, of, again, folks, without a doubt, are not educated or at least not attempting the application just due to assumption of, oh, I don't meet that income requirement, I'm just not even going to fill it out. When, again, in theory, a few amount of them probably could qualify and probably did, and probably that was money that they should have had within their pockets. Again, the bill went up, again, the medium gross income to 75% to 125%. So, again, it passed 9-0, passed the committee. So this is something that expect that this should go to Governor Gordon's desk, that he should enact.
This benefits you more than a 34-year homeowner like me.
Yeah.
So again,
and again, we already know here in the state. Again, we talked with Representative Swanser again last week on the show that again, Wyoming's very favorable regarding taxes. Again, for homeowning, for property taxes. That if anything, this just makes it even better for not a few select few out there. Again, of those trying to buy a home, it's now kind of encompassing more and more to alleviate more money back into their pockets. That hopefully again gets kind of doled out in positive ways, or at least you would hope positive ways back into the community, or again back into businesses, whatever X, Y, and Z it may lead to. So again, will this bill be enacted? It should. It should make it to Governor Gordon's desk and should be enacted into law. So
and again, too, you go back to my situation and to a lot of our listeners that are homeowners for many, many years, and we've been paying those property taxes. You know, again, and we're not seeing any relief in that. Shouldn't there be a supplemental program for current existing homeowners?
Yeah, I would think so.
Wouldn't that be fair? I know the state will be inundated, let's just say for argument's sake, 75,000 applicants. And again, whether we all meet the income restrictions, that remains to be seen. I don't know what the income restrictions are, but the thing is, too, you're incentivizing you, Nick, to buy a home. You're going to probably come within those income restrictions. You're going to be okay. You're going to be green flagged.
No.
And you're going to get a rebate check, which is great.
Like I said, what this is doing more so is encouraging more folks that, again, have the higher household-like assets, again, more at least kind of monies, again, regarding that eligibility. Again, it incentivizes not so much the lower end of the spectrum, but, again, of salary and, again, how much money you are making, again, your assets. That threshold gets higher, and again, according to the article, or at least according to the bill, again, it goes from $100,000 to $150,000 per adult in a household of their assets. So, again, it seems like this is something that current household owners, especially if you were ineligible, it sounds like if this gets passed and you meet now the new threshold that this is putting out there, I think, yeah, you can still apply and move forward with it, I would assume.
Yeah, and
that's
again,
something that, again, goes above my pay grade. Again, I am far from being a house owner, just due to the fact that
me too, because like I said, hearing about this and looking at all of the applications that they had from last year, like this is brand news. This is, I don't want to say brand new news, but this is news to me. I didn't know this plan was already in effect. So. Again, we'll keep our eye on it,
and I wonder if
I think you're right. It probably will go through the House.
And I wonder. Well, again, it seems like it already did. Again, it passed the committee, but again, where does this fall under, or at least who's kind of at the fault of the education process on this? Is this kind of lands on real estate agents that are withholding this information and saying, "Hey, check this out as you're buying a home. Here's a rebate program here in the state, and fill out the application." Again,
you'd figure that would be in the paperwork. You would figure.
The paperwork that, again, it has so much legalities. Again, you're reading through very quickly, where, again, it reads like stereo instructions that, again, you may overlook. But, again, is it something that is that information being withheld that, again, real estate agents or, again, folks simply not educating themselves on it? Is it something that there's a lot of just waiting money for folks that qualify that just do not realize that are current homeowners, that all you got to do is just fill out a simple application.
And let me ask you this question,
or at least, at least simply fill out an application. Not saying the application is simple. I doubt that it is.
Well, and the same thing too, Nick. On that same vein, what about refinancing your home? Does that make you eligible for the program? Again, if you meet the income guidelines, because basically what you're doing is, hey, I own the home. And I'm selling the home to myself. When you refinance, per se, I mean, do you also become eligible for that program if you meet the eligibility requirements?
You're going to have to do that research because, again, I'm far from being a homeowner just due to the nature of, again, my salary and just the times that, again.
Don't be going there about your salary.
Again,
you're rich.
Let's be honest. Again, my salary does not buy a home here in 2023. And, again, it does not even buy, as of right now, an apartment, just due to the fact that, again, you look at price increases of what is happening, especially here in the city of Cheyenne. It's ridiculous. Let's be honest.
Your salary is 3 times as much as mine, so I don't even want to.
But it still does not buy. At least I could not qualify for a home. I could not purchase a home.
No, I think you.
No.
I
think you're incorrect on that.
I think you got enough credit now established that you could do it.
I guess, but either way, though, again, it's something that as financial savvy as I would like to think I am, but again, to purchase a home again with my salary again with the price of a home, especially here in Cheyenne, it's just not feasible. Again, on my own.
I know, but you wouldn't want to buy a home similar to what I have. You'd want to
I get that, but even you look at the rates of again homes, even single level or again just kind of fixer uppers or whatever it may be. They're still pretty damn pricey.
I would say you'd like to get something like your grandmother's home. That would be
still pretty damn pricey.
I understand.
Because, again, look at how quickly they're being bought up right now.
But, again, like I said, where you're at now, you are probably in that eligibility, and you're also a Wyoming first-time home buyer. You get some benefits out of that as well, too. All right, anyway.
Yeah, but again, plain and simple, though, regarding this rebate, we'll see. It should move forward. You got to imagine that it will be enacted or at least signed by Governor Gordon. It should go forward. Again, anything tax incentive or at least kind of a rebate, you got to imagine that it will. But again, on the education process of again, how known is this across the state of Wyoming? Again, it said again, what was it, about 4,000 applicants?
Yeah, it's kind of a best kept secret.
Yeah, does that fall on real estate agents or again whoever? Bankers or whoever? Again, is it falling on someone that should be expressing this information that is not to again? Citizens that are buying up houses here in the state of Wyoming. Again, that's at least as of right now to be determined.
All right. We do want to remind you that the program will re-air today. Again, thank you to Chief Mark Francisco of the Cheyenne Police Department. Joining us here just moments ago. And then again, earlier we had Tim Bradshaw, Director of the Cheyenne Regional Airport, on our first hour. So again, this program will re-air from 4 until 6 p.m. Tomorrow we'll get a chance to talk the local sports scene. And
well, at least we have the big East Central match, but outside of that, a lot of games got moved, got postponed, possibly canceled. That again with the weather events, a lot of things did not happen just due to again roads being closed. So at least we'll have an opportunity to recap again East Central at Story Gymnasium.
We could do that in 2 hours. Oh, absolutely. Well, that game was filled with a lot of action.
And hopefully again. We'll reach out to, again, AD of Cheyenne South, Wendy Johnson, to get her in, as we've had Chad Whitworth in, and we've had Jerry Schlabs in, again, as we talk with all 3 of our ADs here in town. Hopefully we'll get her in. I do believe, as of right now, our only guest for tomorrow is representative of Cheyenne Roller Derby. Once again, as they're back in action, they are back in operation, so they have a couple of events upcoming. So, again, we'll have a representative to give us updates on, again, local Cheyenne Roller Derby happening once again here in 2023. And, again, tentative as of right now. Again, hopefully we'll hear from Wendy Johnson to get updates of Cheyenne South athletics.
All right, yeah, and I would venture to say school will be back in session tomorrow since the sun is finally shining. All right, that's going to wrap up our program for today. So on behalf of Nick Perotti, I'm Larry Perotti. This has been KRAE Reports, a week in review. We now return to regular programming on 1480 KRAE. Bye-bye.